Hello everyone, I'm Dada the Butt, and welcome to Abuttment, a Minecraft 1.12 Let's Play for both new and non-players. Welcome to Day 2. If you watched Day 1, then thank you for sticking with me. Day 1 was a little bit scripty, but I was very conscious of a lot of information to get through whilst trying to keep the video down to about half an hour. We have one more session of that to do whilst I take you through the user and control interfaces. Then we can get on to a more free-flowing documentary style of gameplay. Our first user interface you've already seen, and this is the main game menu. Feel free to play with the other options, but at the moment all we're interested in is being able to return to the game, saving and quitting the game, and later on we'll be looking at the advancement system. Back to game returns us to our main game view. Towards the bottom we have our health, food, experience bar and hotbar. Taking each of those in turn, for health there are 10 hearts, and those run in half hearts, so we have 20 health units. To the right of that is our food. Again, 10 joints, those run in half joints, giving us 20 food units. Underneath that is the experience bar. Experience will be used later in the game for enchantments, and we can gain experience through various activities, primarily collecting orbs from killing creatures, also breeding creatures, certain potions, etc. But let's go and find ourselves, I think I saw some cows over there, and I'll demonstrate experience orbs. So here I found a small herd of cows, and you'll hear the two little plinky plonks then, and I now have about 5 units of experience. I'm going to keep on doing that for a little while, and you may have just seen there the experience orbs. Some more down here. Yes. A couple. Okay, there we go. There's one. And I think there was another one. There's another one down there. When you get close enough, they do come across to you. I'm just hoping, there we go, and I've got 4 leather, which is what I want for my next demonstration. Now you'll see that the experience bar is slowly filling. And when I have enough, which I had on that last one and didn't notice, but you'll see I've gone to experience level 1 and the experience bar will start to fill up again. There we go, so I now have experience level 1 plus an extra couple of units towards level 2. Those will be used later in the game, particularly for enchantments. So here I am back at base. Whilst off camera I did a little bit of running around and jumping off high places, and you can see I've taken half a heart of damage and I've used 2 of my food units. When the hearts are depleted, that is death. When the food is depleted, you will start taking damage to your health. Whilst you have a full food bar, your health will slowly recover. And we do this by eating some of those apples those trees rather kindly dropped for us back on day 1. So I'm going to eat one of my apples, and that's recovered my food, and because I'm at full food, that then recovered my half heart. Different foods will give you different levels. So apples are quite minimal. A raw steak will probably get me a couple of food units. I can't remember the figures off the top of my head. I could also cook those steaks and they would give me more food units. There is one other element of this screen that you can't see at the moment because I'm not wearing any armour. So the leather that I collected from my cows, I will quickly make myself a leather helmet. Place that on my head. So that's nicely covering up my bald spot now. And on the main screen you can now see that above health I'm showing how much protection I have in terms of armour units, and a leather cap is about the smallest you can get, and that gives me a half unit of protection. There is a cap, a chest plate, pants and boots. I could make each of those out of leather. The next level up would be making those out of iron, and then above that making them out of diamonds. And there are others. And just to finish off on this screen, as we've seen before, below the experience meter we have the hotbar showing the items from which we can instantly select. There are 9, and we can use our controls to navigate and jump through those to select which we are holding. If we wish, we can replace any of those 9 items with something else from our hotbar. So if I don't want to use that cobble and instead want to go planting trees, I can move the saplings into my hotbar, select, and I can now go and plant these saplings. Don't forget that up in the top right of the screen we will get any game notifications such as new recipes being unlocked as we find new resources and advancements. I've moved into the shelter and we'll go through our inventory screen. The reason I've moved into the shelter, whilst you're on the inventory screen, the clock is still ticking. Many is the death being snuck up on by a creeper whilst working on your inventory screen or rummaging in chests. You are still subject to attack by mobs. This is not the case if you're on the game menu. On the game menu the clock is stopped. So if you're working on the inventory screen, make sure either it's brief or you're somewhere safe from mobs. Here we have a replication of our hotbar, and here we have our additional personal storage. So these can quickly be picked up and moved between. If you want to shuffle stuff around, you need to come into the inventory to do it. Hotbar has 9 slots, inventory 3 rows of 9 slots. Some items can stack. So here we have 2 apples have stacked. Here we have a stack of 43 cobblestone. For those types of items, typically the maximum size of a stack is 64. Once you get to 64, you start using another slot. Some items, such as tools, don't stack. If I try to put my pickaxe on top of this pickaxe, I do not get 2, they just swap. Some items have a slightly reduced stack count. For example, signs do stack, but only up to a maximum of 16, then you need to start using another slot. To transfer items, you just click, drag and drop. If you do a shift click, you can bounce them. and they'll just take the next available space in the alternate area. If you want to get rid of items, you can click and drop them off the inventory. So that is now floating and will stay there unless I get close enough for them to be picked up. The easiest way to get rid of items permanently is to drop them into lava. I'll show you that as and when. You can also, so these were all left click drops. If you right click, you will pick up half of the stack. That's particularly useful when crafting. So I can drop in my planks. I want to make some sticks, so I can right click to move half of those to get my stick pattern. I could drop half, 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 and drop. If I double click, I will pick up all available. If I place using right click, I will place one at a time. Alternatively, I can hold down the left mouse button and paint, and then let go, and there we are. Takes a bit of getting used to, it's just experience. So we've done our hotbar, we've done our main inventory, you've seen armor. As I said, we have a helmet, a chest plate, leggings and boots. Here is our avatar. You will probably be using one of the default skins such as Steve. I've given myself a nice little custom Dada the Butt skin. In addition to your armor, you have a slot for placing a shield, which will be held in your left hand, and using the right button in battle can be used for defense. The 2x2 crafting table you've seen before. This is the output from whatever recipe you've painted. And here we have the recipes button, and this is a good opportunity to introduce my first user interface mod. This recipe book is a relatively new addition to Minecraft. On my bookshelves I have various books documenting Minecraft recipes, the old classic Blockopedia. Back then, learning recipes was done by memory. We tended to use a mod called Not Enough Items, which is what is generating what you can see here on the right half of the screen. It also provides this options button, and it also provides an inventory sorting option. The sorting, the recipes and configuration are all coming from the Just Enough Items user interface mod, which I now extend it again with Just Enough Items. So we'll take a quick look at Minecraft's new recipe book. The only recipes available are those for which you have ever experienced a resource. If you haven't yet come across the resource that's involved in a recipe, you will not be provided with it. This is showing all of the items I have recipes for, but you can subcategorize. Building materials, miscellaneous items, redstone related, we'll cover redstone later. You'll notice that the torch recipe is red. Although I'm aware of torches because I have found both sticks and charcoal, at the moment I don't have any charcoal, so they are uncraftable. I can take this option and it will only show me those items for which I have currently the resources to make. If you do have the resources, you can click on the item you intend to make. It will place the recipe and the items into the crafting area, ready for the selected output. Notice it is not showing me any of the tool recipes, and that's because I'm just in the inventory screen, which just has a 2x2 crafting area. If I was to select the crafting table, there is the recipe book, and now you can see it is showing all of my recipes, because a crafting table can handle all of your recipes. So here I now have my tools and my doors, which are not craftable. I only have 4 planks, and doors take 6. Notice there are 2 pages on here. Remember, I'm looking at all. I now have the additional subcategory of weapons. If you're struggling to find something, you can place that into the search bar. So we're picking up our pickaxe recipes. And again, clicking on a recipe will take the required items out of your inventory into the crafting area, ready for the desired output. As I say, we never used to have that. Not enough items provide you with all of the blocks in the game. And a description of the recipe. So for example, to make sand, I need a furnace and smelt any sort of sand to make glass, and I will also get 0.1 XP for each of those that I make. And these are not restricted to resources that I've come across. I know there are pistons in the game. I can do a search on pistons. Cobblestone and planks we've experienced, but we've not yet experienced iron or redstone, so this recipe would not be available through the standard Minecraft book. Not enough items, stroke just enough items, also provides us with these little buttons. It will restock our hotbar. So for example, if I break a pick and I have a pick in my inventory, it will automatically transfer that pick from the inventory into my hotbar. Later on, when we start looking at chests, it also allows us to do item sorting. So that's our inventory screen. I've moved out of the base, as now we're going to take a look at the control system. Minecraft uses a standard WASD interface that many gamers will be familiar with. WASD, as it uses the W, A, S and D keys on the keyboard. So with your right hand on the mouse, this allows you to turn left and right and to look up and down. With your middle finger on the W key, you can move forward, move back, so that's W and S, and move sideways with the A and D keys, known as strafing. Obviously you would use those typically in combination, so moving forwards and using the mouse to rotate. And here I'm using strafe to navigate around the trees. Need a bit of open space for the next bit. Your thumb will be sort of over the space bar, and that allows you to jump. If you want to ascend a staircase, keep holding forward whilst you jump, and you will jump forward. The shift key allows you to sneak. So you will move more slowly and you will not drop off the edge of a block. So if I keep holding shift, move forward, my progress halts here. I'm still pressing forwards, but it's not letting me drop off that block. Particularly useful when navigating cliffs or near lava. Our hotbar at the bottom of the screen, currently I have my sword selected. To swap the items in that hotbar, we can use the number keys, 1 to 9, so number 1, number 9, or the mouse wheel will rotate through. Your middle finger is on W for going forwards, and then the E key next door to that will place you into your inventory screen. And escape takes you back to the game menu. Regarding, oh, hello Mr. Zombie, where are you? Must be under the ground somewhere. In terms of interacting with the game, the left mouse button I tend to think of as taking negative actions, so breaking blocks and hitting mobs. The right mouse button, if I switch to that cobblestone there, the right mouse button performs what I think of as positive action, so placing blocks, opening and closing doors, using items such as chests and levers, throwing things such as eggs, pushing buttons, eating food. I can't eat the apple because currently I have full food, and drinking later on for potions, etc. So yeah, I tend to think of that, as I say, left mouse negative, right mouse positive. Also, if you had a shield, the right mouse button will place that shield across you to defend from items such as arrows and gassed fireballs. Just 2 topics to go now, entities and goal setting. So, entities. The Minecraft world consists of entities. The primary entity is yourself, the player. The remaining entities are divided into static and mobile. Static entities are what is around you making up the world. So leaves, birchwood, oakwood, technically these are birch leaves, oak leaves, dirt, grass. So they're static in that they do not change their position. The other group are mobile entities. So we've already seen cows and wolves, and mobile entities are what we refer to as mobs. Mobile entities, mobs. They are split into 3 categories: friendly, neutral, and hostile. Neutral mobs are those that will neither harm you nor assist you. These include cows, chickens, sheep, etc. Hostile mobs are those that will actively seek to do you harm. Creepers, zombies, skeletons, etc. Friendly mobs will assist you in some way. So dogs will attack any mobs that attack you, and cats will scare away creepers. There is some crossover between hostile, neutral and friendly. For example, spiders are hostile in the night time, but during the day they are neutral, unless you attack them, in which case they will become hostile. Likewise, wolves. They are neutral. If you attack them, they will become hostile. But if you feed them bones, then they will become dogs, which are friendly. Finally, let's talk about goal setting. My own personal entry into the world of Minecraft was delayed by 6 months. I loaded up the game, generated a world, appeared in front of a tree and thought, what next? Another of Minecraft's great strengths is that it is an open world. It is up to you where you go and what you do. But that great strength is also one of its weaknesses. It's difficult for new and non-players to understand why people play Minecraft. Knowing what goals are available and setting goals, whether it be in a particular world or at a particular time, is important. Watching tutorial videos such as this one and other players' gameplay can be a great source of inspiration. But as a beginner, there are 2 particular targets that are of interest. The first is Minecraft's original stated endpoint, which was to defeat the Ender Dragon. The Ender Dragon is in a particular dimension called the End, and you need to run up a ladder of crafting more and more advanced resource types before you're in a position to A, get to the end, and B, have enough protection and strength to take on and defeat the End Dragon. In the original game at that point there was a credit screen, but you could continue playing beyond. In later versions they have now extended the game beyond that, and different things happen once you've defeated the Ender Dragon. The other potential option is the advancement system. You remember as we progressed through day 1, we were receiving notifications of advancements. So we advanced into the Stone Age. We upgraded our wooden pickaxe to our stone pickaxe. Our next targeted advancement is to acquire hardware, to find iron and smelt it into an iron ingot. Once we have iron, we can make iron armor. We could also make a bucket and fill it with lava. Obviously, the first thing we'll do when we get iron is make ourselves an iron pickaxe. So these advancements are completed, and these ones are presented to us as a target. This screen will open up more and more as we progress through the game. You can also use resources on the internet to look at different branches of the advancement screen, and this is why Abuttment is called Abuttment. My aim over the course of this series is to try and achieve as many advancements as I possibly can, and I'll be documenting that journey, and hopefully you can watch along as you play your own games. Right, time for some gameplay. Through the magic of video editing, none of the previous ever took place, and the sun is rising on day 2. We don't want to have to spend another night hiding in our hole, and the way we avoid that is by sleeping through the night. Now, as with many things in Minecraft, we have what I term a reverse problem chain. We have a problem that overnight mobs will be coming out to attack us, so we need to sleep through the night. To sleep through the night, we need a bed. To get a bed, we need some wool, and to get some wool, we need to find some sheep. So that is our immediate objective here on day 2. So let's head off and see if we can find ourselves some sheep. We're going to be moving away from our shelter. If things go wrong, we need to be able to get back here and take shelter. This is a forest. It's going to be very easy to get lost. We have some torches. That will help us when it does get dark. We should see a portion of the forest that is lit up. But that's not really going to help us. So firstly, we want to look for a landmark. Rather difficult here. I do see some water over there, so we're going to run on down. Here is a bend in the river that should be relatively easy to find. What have I just picked up? How bizarre. Maybe I've just achieved an awareness of water. Ooh, and there's a bit of luck. Here we have some sheep. We headed due west from our base, so it's up there, and I think I can just see a torch. Now this bend in the river is going to look pretty much like any other bend. So let's make ourselves a landmark. I will pillar up slightly. So that's just by jumping, and whilst you're in the air, place a block. And on top of that, we will jump and place a torch. So hopefully that will be quite visible. But once we get here, after we've been running around a while... No! The wolf's killing my sheep. Quick, get the wool. Good. And immediately you can see how useful that landmark is. But what direction is our base in from the landmark? When we come back all turned around and panicking because we're being chased by zombies and creepers. Personally, I've got into the habit, as I'm running along, I tend to place torches to my right, particularly when branch mining. So what I tend to do with my landmarks is there'll be one on top so that it's visible, but on the side I will place one on my right as if I'd been coming from my base. Quickly go and grab those wool before they despawn. Blocks like this that are floating around will stay for about 5 minutes and then they despawn. So here we have my landmark. There's my directional torch. So if I run in this direction, I will get to my base. Courtesy of a fortuitous accident of some sheep here and Mr. Wolf killing them for me, I now have 4 wool. I need 3 to make my bed. When you're travelling over water, you will sink. You can see above my food bar that I am now running out of oxygen because I am underwater. Pressing the jump key will allow you to come to the surface, and as soon as you break the surface, you will breathe. If you stay down too long, you will run out of oxygen, you will start to take damage. And there we go. Half a unit at a time, quite rapidly, back to the surface. And because I have full food, that will now, my health will start to recover itself. If I was slightly down on food, that wouldn't happen. Now, remember I took my direction from the base. Oh, there is the partially destroyed tree, and there is my spawn stump with its torch, and here is my base. crafting table, planks for the base of your bed, wool for the top of your bed, and we can now place it. I've realised I did in the previous episode, I dug this slightly deep because I want furnace, crafting table. I'll be putting a chest here later, and that's all I need. So I'm just going to pop off that torch, get myself some dirt and fill in the back. Put the torch over where my bed is going to be. And my shelter now has a bed. So we have our stump. Over there we have our landmark on the river bend. The stump was quite difficult to find. Let's make that a little more obvious. Make that a bit of a pillar. Put a torch on top. You can fall 3 blocks before you start taking damage. Beyond that, you take a half heart damage for every block beyond that. So a 24 block drop is death. Unless you take action to protect yourself, which we'll sort out later. We have our bed. I've improved that a little bit. It would possibly be better up there, but at the moment it would be blocked in by the trees. Let's spend some time doing a bit of harvesting. The first thing I need to do was this nightmare that I left yesterday, so let's tidy up. Those leaves will now decay over time as I've taken out their trunk. I also mentioned that I wasn't using a particularly eco-friendly way of chopping down trees. My preferred method, I don't take the bottom, I take the next one up. That allows me to stand and work my way up through the middle. I will then knock out some of the leaves until I get myself a sapling. Haven't got one yet, I've got some from earlier. I will then knock out that tree and replant as a renewable resource. Down goes the sun. So back into my base. The sun has started setting, so I'm able to right click on my bed and sleep. There has been no darkness, so theoretically there has been no opportunity for hostile mobs to spawn. That doesn't mean there aren't going to be any, so just always be a little cautious. And there we are. Day 2 survived and in a much better position. This episode has lasted a little longer than I would like. Hopefully it's been worth it to cover the user interfaces adequately. I'll end the episode here. Tomorrow, day 3, we'll spend some time collecting resources and then go exploring. I'm not in this for the likes, but if you enjoyed it and found it useful, then a like would help other people to find it. Subscribe if you'd like notification of future uploads, and feel free to comment. But please, keep it relevant, and most importantly, be nice to each other. Thank you for watching, and keep playing Minecraft.